Today we will talk about the summer dissection of the Russian forces, what to expect from the fall campaign, and about the strange business in the Rabotino area. In the northeastern sector of the village of Novoprokopivka, the enemy forces lost their combat capability, were knocked out of the dominant heights and were forced to flee into the village. Earlier, in the area of Ilchinkovo village, Russian units were also withdrawn to the village. Of course, they were withdrawn due to the loss of combat effectiveness, and what is most interesting is that in the area of Ilchinkovo is the last dominant height in the location. Beyond that, there is a descent into lowlands. Some kind of unexpected wave of loss of combat effectiveness of Russian troops, or quite expected. A classic loss of combat effectiveness of a unit is when losses reach 30% of the number of personnel and equipment. When a unit loses combat capability, it's removed from the combat zone to recover. But back in 2022, Russian commanders abandoned the 30% threshold and increased it to 60%. It was quite difficult to surpass the effectiveness of the June and July battles, but in August the Ukrainian side set an absolute record for the number of Russian artillery they destroyed, 691 units. This, in turn, allows maintaining an average level of losses that exceeds the capacity of the Russian defense industry to replenish them. To simplify, the Ukrainians destroy more Russian artillery than the enemy produces and removes from storage. Also in August was the second indicator for the entire period of full-scale war on the destruction of Russian logistics vehicles, 685 units. Previously, more were burned only in March 2022, when Russian logistics convoys were destroyed non-stop. That month 865 units were burned. I made a table of how much Russian troops lost equipment and personnel during the summer campaign. Who is interested, put the video on pause. It is my strong belief that in September the emphasis will shift more to armored fighting vehicles and tanks. In August a tendency was noticed, and closer to October its catalyzing is not excluded. We are likely to have almost the most intensive month in terms of news. September will determine what the fall will be like, and the fall may answer what the war will be like next. And if we're very lucky, roughly orient how quickly it will all be over. It probably won't be the month of the biggest battles. But it could be a month of small but crucial operations. Operations by a team of neurosurgeons, led by Ukrainian commanders. So, what can we expect? A cautious continuation of the offensive in the south and the destruction of Russian defense infrastructure. Over the summer, Ukrainian liberation forces inflicted a serious defeat on Russian defensive positions. They successfully overcame minefields and important fortification nodes along several strategically important Russian defense lines. These actions potentially brought the Ukrainian armed forces closer to Tokmak and Melitopol on one side, and Mariupol and Berdyansk on the other. And in September, the Ukrainian armed forces will continue to work to expand offensive bridgeheads and make further advances. This fall will show how depleted the enemy's defenses are and how demoralized are their personnel. And the Ukrainians, having dismantled the Russians sufficiently, will strike properly. Time will tell how close to victory this strike will be.